Yes, and with Aircar, he's the filmmaker behind a fascinating film, DADA on Vacation. I've not seen anything like this, and I've seen a lot of films. It's an amazing piece of art, actually. Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to Berlin. If you wouldn't mind, as I explained earlier, if you could just tell us a little bit about what the film is actually about.
Well, the title is DADA on Vacation, so it's about DADA, and it's one of the founding fathers and mothers. It's Emmy Hennings and Hugo Ball. And you remember that last year was anniversary, 100th anniversary of DADA, and I took this as a good reason to make a film of them. They became a couple, and my film is about them getting acquainted and making a first trip to some place, not to Mallorca, but some other strange place. And then Hugo had a party at his place, and of course he invited her, and there was a real big party going on, and they met of course again, and then he showed the film. So it was a film inside a film.
A film within a dream within a dream.
Yes. And well, it was, of course, it's a transformation because it's 100 years later.
Yes.
So it's not exactly a documentary, but the stylistic devices are very close to Dada, I would say.
Yes, and that's interesting because I think you're nominated in the documentary sectors, but it's almost kind of like a hybrid. It could be perceived, I suppose, as almost like a fictional narrative piece, but it's very well, it's cleverly done, and I like that. Can you perhaps tell us a little bit about yourself and where you are now in terms of your career and what drew you to make this project?
Okay, I'm not a classical filmmaker because I studied fine arts. I would say I'm an artist, but just making pictures, drawing, making video clips, making installations. What I do most is doing installations,
right.
Temporary installations.
Because I think you're doing that now. I seem to remember in your bio, you're involved in that now, aren't you? Installations.
Well, I picked up my name Erka 2 years ago, so I'm older than 20, so I had a career before the Erka career started.
Yeah.
But I want to make a point and say what I'm talking about is the Erka thing, which is 2 years ago.
Right, okay. And what drew you to the Dadaism, and in particular telling this tale? What was the intrigue behind this? Because this has come from somewhere, of course. And where has that come from?
Well, I don't have role models in films. Of course, I like lots of movie makers, no doubt about it. But I don't say, well, that guy or that woman, I feel so intriguing that I would like to copy him or her. So I think it is pretty much my own thing. And that's why I can do things more or less I would like to do it. And well, inside of this film are some picture hangings. And
yes, yeah, I noticed that. Yeah,
it's part of it. So I was happy not to worry too much about film backgrounds. So I think this is it's of course positive for me because I don't have to worry too much about, can this be right? About the audience. I don't care about the audience. Of course, I like the audience to love the film, but my feel is that I have to do my own thing. So, of course, I'm a professional cameraman.
Yes, I mean, that's you can tell. And I love the film.
He studied it, and he's a young guy, and he's very well. He's very well. He's doing a good job, and but all the other people are friends of mine from the artist side, and some private friends, and so this about it.
How did you choose where to shoot? How did that happen? Because you've got to find somewhere to make the film, haven't you? How did that sort of come about?
I had this plan to make a movie maybe 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And as it happens, friend of a friend, you know, I knew he's doing films and he's at the very beginning of his career.
Yeah.
And we met and we had a good talk and we liked each other's, and so we stayed in contact. And then I phoned him and said, okay,
I'm going to make it.
I have a script. Are you ready?
Yeah. And what about the locations, the actual, how did you choose where to make the film? You know, because you've got to find somewhere to shoot it. How did that happen?
Oh, location's very important for me.
Oh, I mean, this must have been difficult.
Well, it was kind of difficult, but the main location is a coal mine.
Yeah.
The only well, there are 2 coal mines which are used nowadays in Germany, and one is in formerly East Germany, and the other one is at the border at Holland.
Right.
So, and that's my fiancée was born around this place, and she told me the stories. Well, one little village after the village had to be shut down, and all the people had to move. Why? Because the big machines were grabbing the soil, and you know, and all those poor guys had to move to very clean, standard, and awful towns, or not towns, villages. Although I must say, the old villages don't look nice, but
they do or don't?
They don't at all. But
Okay, right.
I love those places. You know, they're dark, gloomy, and they have an atmosphere they carry around that you can't, where you decide it's good or not. You know, right when I went there, I thought, wow, this is a good place. And of course, in Hamburg, I was born in Hamburg, so I knew some locations which were good.
But you haven't lived in Germany all your life. Have you lived outside of Germany?
For 1 year, I spent a year in the United States.
I did wonder, because there's a bit of an accent there, isn't there?
Well,
I can hear something. You know, it's not that you picked up. You see.
Well, I stayed most of the time in Hamburg because I love this place.
Yeah.
And so, of course, I knew some locations where we could possibly film.
So, just to be clear, you'd never made a film before.
Right.
I would really like to know what you thought the filmmaking would be like, and what the real filmmaking actually turned out to be. Was it how you hoped it would be, or was it more difficult? What's your feeling about that?
Yes, the surprising thing about it is the film was more or less exactly like I planned it to be. So this was surprising to me. And of course, all the technique stuff, you know, lighting, and the cameraman wanted to know exactly where to stand and put up the light. And I was kind of amazed, because I thought, well, that's easy. You just walk around. And so, I had to learn a lot. And during this film, I learned a lot about this. So I had the idea of the settings, of course, how the story would be like, all those crazy things I put inside. The philosophy was very important for me. But light and camera and some things went wrong, you know. We had no electricity at one point. I didn't think of this, what happens now.
Yeah.
So, but, well, this was a learning process, but in the end, the film was the way I hoped it to be. And
now you've made a film, have you fallen in love with making film?
Yeah, I've definitely fallen in love with. Well, I've made videos, you know.
Yeah.
So one part of Aka is making 2-minute videos of the picture hangings. So I'm familiar with photography. Photography is one part of my artist life, and picture hangings, but video is something else than making a movie or a film.
Yes.
So, but I've been affected.
that's okay.
Yeah.
And I'd love to know, the first time you showed the film complete to an audience for the very first time, how are you feeling?
It was exciting, because at this point I was opening a gallery, a 270 square meter gallery in one of the largest bunkers in the world. in Hamburg, and I founded this gallery. And first show, and we invited people, and so I did two debuts, or two openings, so to speak. Film opening and gallery opening, so it was a double celebration. So I showed it in this gallery, and of course I was excited, but it's something else than just like an actor who has to perform, you know. So I of course could, on one hand I could lay back because I could not change anything because the movie was done.
That's it, you've got there's no going back.
So that made me feel kind of relaxed. Anyway, I was of course wanting to know if I could, if the audience liked it, of course, or with some distance. You know, I was part of the audience as well at this point.
Yeah.
Seeing the video or the film from the audience perspective, which made it different.
And has it changed your perspective on, not life, but what you want to do with your career? Because I understand what you do now. You've made this film, and I know you loved it. So how has it changed what you want to do?
Well, what I will proceed further is to transform a philosophy, you know, the absurdity in life. I have different and better and new means for making films, just opening different means. You can use time even better than in a video. And to tell you what, some negative point, I found out I'm not an actor, so I will not act again.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's not a negative, because you needed to do that to discover that, perhaps.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
So I don't see that. I mean, everyone's got a gift, haven't they? And perhaps yours just isn't, you know, acting. But I think certainly in terms of filmmaking, I do really like the look of it, and the subject matter is very. But I particularly, as I said earlier, I particularly like the fact that it's a hybrid of like a film and a documentary, which I guess was deliberate. Had to be deliberate, because you could have made it purely documentary, and you could have made it purely a fictional piece, couldn't you? So why did you choose to mesh that?
Well, it comes about. I'm always between two chairs, as we say. I can't categorize. It's hard for other people to categorize me. So I'm always in between. So even in filmmaking, is a documentary? No, not really. But it's not pure fiction either, because it's two guys who lived, you know, Emmy Hennings and Hugo Ball.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's close to their style, what they think. Let's talk about repetition. Repetition is very important in DADA. Think of the poems. They repeat syllables, which don't make too much sense.
No, it's very odd, isn't it? We should point to people that aren't. I'm not attuned to it, but I know what you mean. It's when you listen, it's kind of quite odd. It's quite weird to try and understand, fathom it out. Sorry.
So I could pick this one up. It's a silent movie with lots of music.
Yeah.
But it's two words being spoken. The only two words. It's Emmy, and Hugo. But more often repeated. So I could use this one. This is, it's documentary, because that's the way. Repetition is one of the methods they used a lot. Or absurdity, talk about absurdity, you know. My film uses absurdity. The film, inside the film, the show film, but the film doesn't end with the film, but it goes on with the beginning. So this part is, the philosophy, the devices, they are authentic, but purely I put something of my impetus in this too, but this is authentic, so it's documentary, but just talking about style and talking about the devices, but not talking about real life. I don't know how they met. I actually don't know.
Really?
No, I'm not.
Does anyone know how they met?
Probably, I know, but I don't know. So I don't care.
Because it's not important to your film.
No, not at all, not at all.
But is there, looking back, is there anything about the film you would wish you'd have done differently?
Yeah, as I said before, I'd taken an actor instead of me.
Okay.
So that's definitely true. And we've used some extra time because I was not so familiar with camera work, of course. But in the end, I'm not too much into real perfection, you know. If it's too perfect, it's too slim, too sleek, too nice.
It can look false, can't it?
Yeah, I don't like it. I'm a big fan of the first period of an artist's life, you know, when there is roughness, you know, not everything went smooth. You don't know exactly, well, you've done it 20 times and you know the way it works.
It's really interesting. I was reading an article in the Times. They're talking about Basquiat, the American artist.
Yeah.
And the woman's name, I can't remember her name. She was with him from the beginning, and she said exactly that. I wish I kept it. She said his rawness and edginess at the beginning, when he was a struggling artist, was incredible. It was sublime. But unfortunately, as he became more famous and the money rolled in, it changed him, and he wasn't the same artist.
Yeah, there's this danger, you know, he died early.
Yeah, was he 28 or 29, something like that, wasn't it?
So, but for some artists it may be good luck that they died early, but just for, of course, just talking about art they produced.
And I think it plays into what you're saying, that the edginess of some of these artists. I'm talking about modern artists. I mean, I can't comment really on, I don't know, Picasso or DADA or Dali.
Picasso, you know, all the critics say he was poor the last 10 years. I don't agree. I don't
believe that for a second.
I don't buy this, of course, but many do. So I'm happy that he was getting old, 90-something, I don't know. But, well, I won't give you names now where you think he's very poor, but the danger is that you get intrigued by money and by success.
Of course.
And you're doing things again and again.
Yeah.
I like doing things anew and just conquering new methods, or like filmmaking. So this was new for me, and I liked it, and I probably will not end making 20 movies or so.
You've been seduced by the dark side, haven't you?
Probably not, but...
You know, I said this to a filmmaker earlier, that there was another filmmaker that I spoke to, an American filmmaker. She's quite famous, and she's made shows like CSI and all this sort of stuff. Well, what she said to me, which was really interesting, I asked her if filmmakers and addiction. She said, you know, Steve, I was a heroin and a cocaine addict, and filmmaking to me is more addictive than those. And I said, really? She said, you don't know because you've never made a film. But every filmmaker I've spoken to that have made a first film, self included, have become seduced by it. Because all of a sudden, I mean, I've got no idea, there is something new that you really like, and they can't step away from it. You've opened the door, you see. This is the problem, isn't it?
You never can tell, I don't know. But maybe I find some other stuff I've not done before. So I'm very content at this point, and I will definitely make another film, for sure. But I don't know how it will be in 20 years. Maybe I've discovered something else. I don't know.
That's good. Listen, that was excellent. I knew it would be.